All right, continuing on with basic martial arts / self-defense. In my recent videos, I talked about kicking, and I mentioned that I would talk about kick defense in my next video. And then I was thinking about it, and I realized we haven't addressed any kind of defensive techniques yet. So I want to take a couple videos to talk about some of the basic defense techniques and movements that you can start incorporating into your practice. Remember, these are just the basics. There are many different ways to defend. There's all kinds of blocks from all these different martial arts, and they're all great. But this video series has always meant to be an intro into martial arts and self-defense. So I've only been sticking to the basics. I figured it would be, it's a great time since a lot of us are just at home. It'd be a great time to give you an intro into martial arts and self-defense if you haven't done it before, and give you another way to work out that you could do at home. For a lot of you, a new way to work out. And I think it's pretty fun, and it can be a really good workout. And then I was also hoping I could spark your interest in martial arts. So in the future, you'll find a teacher and find a school that you like, and you'll continue to train. But you would come out of this having some general knowledge, and it'd be you'd have an easier time starting out at a school or in a specific martial art. So anyways, it's always been about the basics. It's always best to get yourself a teacher and be a part of a school. All right, so with that being said, let's talk about some defensive techniques you can start utilizing right away. And I think the best place to start is with movement. Remember my first bunch of videos in this whole series, they were about movement because I believe that's the foundation to your training. All your techniques are going to be better if you start with a foundation of good movement. So that being said, I think a good place to start is with movement for defense. So we get into our fight stance, and the first technique, which I utilize a lot in sparring, and this comes from boxing, is called the slip. So if a punch is coming at me, and this is best used against a straight punch is coming at me, I move my head off the line and it slips by. That's how it gets the name. So I can either go to the outside of an arm, it depends on which arm they're throwing their punch with, or I can go inside. It all depends on which arm they're throwing. But let's say if I was throwing across here, if I was slipping to the outside, this is the outside of my arm out here, and then this is the inside. Notice if a person slips to the outside, it's going to be hard for me to reach them. I have to turn my body if I was going to punch them with my other hand. If they go to the inside here, they might be at risk of getting hit with my other hand. So it's always ideal if you can move your head off the line to the outside of the arm. But sometimes maybe you're moving around and you just happen to be in a position where the only way you can get your head off the line is to go inside, and then you just have to make sure you're aware of their other arm. The other thing, it's a small movement. I kind of turn my body and I move my head, and I'm just doing it enough that the punch goes by. If I, in any defensive technique, if I overcommit to them, generally I'll get off balance and I'll be more open to get hit. So that's an important thing to take into account when defending yourself. You never want to overdo it and get yourself off balance. So the slip is just a small movement, and now you can start moving around and putting it into your shadow boxing. You can be throwing your combos, doing some kicks, and then every now and then do a slip. Just move off the line and then follow up with some punches. It's a very simple technique, but it works really well. Like I said, I use it in sparring. Another thing I want to mention, if you do have someone to train with it's really helpful if you have them just throw, at first, just throw some punches really slow, and then you can just get a chance to slip, just move your head off the line and practice that way. But you can still practice even if you're by yourself. You just use your imagination. A punch is coming right at your face, and you just move enough that it gets off the line. Because remember, even if I just move my head, and even if it ends up still hitting me, I'm not going to get hit directly. It's going to graze off of me, and that's better than getting hit directly. But ideally, you'd want it to just miss you. You get off the line just enough, and then you still have your balance and you can counterattack. So yeah, do it from both leads. Get used to slipping. It's a small movement. It's a fun one, but put that into your shadow boxing. I'll have another defensive technique in my next video.